Picture this: Balmoral Castle. Velvet curtains sweeping across stone floors, candles flickering against ancient walls, wine glasses glimmering like secrets in the firelight. It was supposed to be just another carefully polished royal dinner. One of those evenings where everyone wears their best face, their most flawless smile, and the illusion of unity glows under chandeliers. But beneath all that glitter, something much darker was brewing. Because sometimes whispers are louder than screams. And Camilla, well, she forgot that rule. That night, Camilla walked in like she owned the place. Her gown, a deep emerald green, shimmering like envy itself. On her head, a tiara that glittered like it had something left to prove. Every step, every smile, every glance was deliberate. She wasn't just showing up, she was staking her claim, reminding everyone that she wasn't just a consort in name, she was the queen. Charles, meanwhile, stood by the window, a glass of red wine in his hand, staring into the gardens like a man who'd lost something he couldn't quite name. Maybe peace, maybe control, maybe himself. And that's when she struck. She didn't approach him to comfort. Oh no, she approached to conquer. "I think we should add my 2 charities to the fall royal agenda," she said, her voice dripping honey but sharpened with steel. "It'll show the people we're evolving with them. I've already planned it all." It was the kind of line that expected a nod, applause, maybe even obedience. But Charles? He didn't even flinch, didn't even turn at first. And when he finally did look at her, the smile he wore was pure performance, as fake as the polished silver on the dinner table. He shook his head gently, calmly, but oh so clearly. "Let's focus on what William and Catherine have built. That's where the public is looking now." And just like that, the emerald glow around Camilla shattered into jagged glass. That wasn't just a rejection, it was a dismissal. And the worst part? People heard it. This wasn't some private behind-the-door disagreement. The King of England had just brushed his wife aside in front of watchful ears. Her idea? Dust. Her relevance? Questioned. All replaced by the radiant, untouchable glow of William and Catherine. Camilla forced a polite laugh, the kind of laugh women master when they're burning inside but can't afford to let it slip. She said nothing more. But make no mistake, inside, she was on fire. And the real explosion? That came later. Hours after the polished laughter faded and guests retired to their royal chambers, Balmoral grew quiet. Too quiet. And that's when Camilla finally cracked. She hurled her clutch across the hallway, the sound slicing through silence like a scream no one was supposed to hear. Charles, halfway through removing his gloves, froze and turned. And then, those words. Words that would flip the monarchy on its head. "You're not a king anymore," she spat, her eyes blazing with venom. "You're just William's puppet." It wasn't just anger. It was raw, unfiltered betrayal. She called him weak, hollow, a king only in title, stripped of power, stripped of respect. Every frustration she'd bottled up for years came pouring out. And she had no idea, none at all, that someone else was listening. Behind a cracked wooden door, barely ajar, stood a royal advisor, one of the old guard, a man who had seen Diana's days, who knew where all the bodies were buried. He heard it all, every single word. And though he said nothing in that moment, he didn't forget. The next morning, London woke to its usual gray skies. But inside William's office, the storm had just arrived. Tea in hand, he sat calmly as Harrow, the advisor, walked in pale as a ghost, voice trembling with urgency. He told William everything, every insult, every venomous word Camilla had hissed at his father. William didn't shout. He didn't smash his teacup, though his grip was so tight his knuckles turned white. He just sat there, jaw clenched, eyes fixed, mind racing. His father hadn't just been insulted, he had been humiliated, dismantled, by the very woman he had once thrown away everything for. And that afternoon, William made his move. A message was sent, private, subtle, deadly. Camilla was to meet him at Windsor Castle, alone. She walked in with her head high, silver dress gleaming, pearls around her neck like armor. She thought it was just a warning, maybe a stern lecture. Oh no, it was her reckoning. "What did you say to my father?" William asked, his voice cold as stone, his eyes unforgiving. Camilla faltered for once. She tried to twist it, tried to call it private, tried to lie. But William, he didn't blink. "I have a witness," he said, stepping closer. "Don't test me, Camilla. You crossed a line." And just like that, the shift happened. Not on TV cameras, not in public speeches, but in that small sunlit room, power silently changed hands. The fallout came fast, quiet, brutal. First, her sister Annabelle. Gone, dismissed by email, no warning, no meeting, just restructuring. Then, her two closest aides, banished, one shoved off to Scotland, the other to Wales, told to clear their desks by sundown. And while Camilla's phone buzzed with update after devastating update, the final blow landed like a knife to the heart. An email, cold, clinical, stamped with the royal crest. She was pulled from 2 charity events she had nurtured for years, not canceled. Oh no, replaced. Catherine was taking over. The same Catherine whose face smiled effortlessly on magazine covers, who never had to claw her way into acceptance, who didn't fight to prove her place. Camilla's hands trembled as she read it. Her legacy? Stripped. Her influence? Gone. And this time, it wasn't just protocol. It was personal. By dawn the next morning, the palace felt colder. Staff avoided her gaze. Whispers turned into silences. This wasn't just a dismissal. This was an erasure. Someone was moving the chessboard pieces with surgical precision, and she knew exactly who it was. William. And he wasn't just playing games. He was dismantling her, piece by piece. Camilla couldn't take it anymore. She stormed straight into Charles's study, fury boiling like a volcano about to erupt. He was there, sitting calmly at his desk, reading papers on environmental policy, as if the palace wasn't crumbling around them, as if her world wasn't being ripped apart thread by thread. "My sister's out. My aides are gone. They've stolen my events. And you just sit there, doing nothing?" she cried, her voice cracking under the weight of betrayal. Charles didn't flinch. He didn't even raise his voice. Slowly, he set the paper down, his tired eyes locking on hers. "You hurt this family, Camilla," he said softly, but the words cut deeper than a scream. "William is doing what he thinks is right." She froze. Her rage collapsed into something colder. Shock. "You're letting him destroy me?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I stood by you when the world hated us, and this is what I get?" But Charles didn't answer. He turned away, leaving her standing there, shattered but too proud to show it. She didn't cry, not in front of him. She walked out with her spine stiff, her teeth clenched, but inside, a storm was raging. And if Charles wouldn't protect her, then she would protect herself. She reached out to the old guard, the conservative advisors, the ones who had once cheered her rise. In secret meetings across London, she painted William as the villain. "He's cutting out tradition," she warned them, her voice sharp and persuasive. "He's pushing the monarchy into chaos. He's treating the queen consort like she's disposable." And they listened. Because truth be told, William's modern ways had always made the traditionalists nervous. Camilla knew exactly how to plant seeds of doubt. And soon enough, whispers began circling through the palace corridors. Was William overstepping? Was he undermining the king's authority? The pressure crept back to Charles. Dukes murmured warnings. The Privy Council raised concerns. The monarchy couldn't afford a family war, not when its public image was still healing. So Charles made a choice. He summoned William to Balmoral, just father and son. No staff, no advisors. A library soaked in history, haunted by the ghosts of monarchs past. Charles sat at the desk, his fingers folded, his words careful. "You're going too far," he said quietly. "She's still my wife." But William didn't blink. "She called you a puppet," he shot back. "I'm not trying to take your crown, father. I'm protecting it." The silence in that room was heavy, suffocating. Legacy pressed down like stone. Charles looked away. His silence said more than any argument ever could. That night, alone in the same library, Charles opened an old leather notebook, his mother's. Queen Elizabeth's handwriting still danced across the pages, every line regal and sharp, a reminder of duty, of sacrifice, of loyalty. He ran his fingers over her words, swallowed his doubts, and then he signed. A royal decree. William now had full authority to act. The crown had spoken. Camilla's reckoning had officially begun. And how did it happen? Not with a grand speech, not with a press conference. Oh no. At Buckingham Palace, it came with a sealed envelope, cold and clinical, handed to the communications team. The wording was sterile. Queen Camilla would temporarily step back from public duties to focus on her health and personal projects. But behind those palace walls, everyone knew the truth. It wasn't retreat, it was exile. At 6 in the morning, a black royal car rolled up outside Clarence's house. Camilla, wrapped in a muted gray coat, stepped inside without a word. No staff lined the halls, no farewell, no goodbyes. The car drove her north, through endless countryside, past stone walls and rolling green hills, until it reached Ray Mill House, her private estate in Northumberland. Once her sanctuary, now her prison. Inside, the silence was deafening. The halls echoed with her footsteps. Her phone barely buzzed. The inbox that used to flood with invitations and royal agendas now sat empty. Even her so-called allies kept their distance. Nobody wanted to risk their standing by being too close to her. Her children, Tom and Laura, checked in occasionally, but their messages were polite, clipped, careful. They knew, everyone knew, the palace machine was shifting and anyone caught in its gears would be crushed. One evening, Camilla stood alone in the garden, clutching her old pearl necklace like it was the last shred of the woman she once was. The wind whipped the flowers, bending them until they snapped, and she watched them fall, her heart sinking. Her face, once splashed across magazines, once at the center of royal charity events, had been wiped from the official royal website. One click, gone, erased. Inside the palace, the new order rose like dawn. William, with Charles's blessing, began rebuilding the monarchy's image. Ceremonies were modernized, stripped of unnecessary pomp. Initiatives focused on education, mental health, and climate action. And at the heart of it all stood Catherine, radiant, serene, unshakable. The media dubbed her the people's princess. Young fans adored her, older royals respected her, and the public, tired of palace drama, leaned into her calm presence. Meanwhile, William tightened every loose thread. Camilla's charities were reassigned, her appearances canceled, her schedule wiped clean. He never mentioned her name, not once. And Charles? He watched quietly. He didn't defend her. He didn't gloat either. Most days, he sat in his study, Queen Elizabeth's photo by his side, her notebook still open on his desk. He read Camilla's letters, some tearful, some angry, some desperate, but he never replied. His silence was his choice, his duty. And so, the press was left guessing. No leaks, no meltdowns, just a quiet, brutal removal. Camilla had been erased from the story, but in her cold, lonely estate, she wasn't finished. Not yet. Her pride, shattered, her influence, gone. But deep inside her chest, something still flickered. Something stubborn, a whisper, a vow. They might have pushed her out, they might have silenced her, but she refused to disappear. One morning, as the sun bled across the barren fields, she stood by her window clutching her pearls, her breath steady. "They think they've won," she murmured. Her voice didn't shake. It was cold, defiant, final. "But I'm still the queen." And just like that, she made her promise. The monarchy may have moved on. William and Catherine may be the future. But Camilla? Camilla wasn't finished. Not by a long shot. She would wait. She would watch. And she would make sure history didn't forget her name. Get her name. Get her name.